Previously on Stay in Your Lane, tech investment in the trucking industry hasn't been in all parts successful. It's struggled in a lot of respects. So you're a partner to me. Our motives are genuine. I want you to go and spend $30,000 or $40,000 integrating for API real-time freight rating, for real-time rating, and then no guarantee of any return.
An
And
algorithm
that
would
takes out
know.
the
Yeah.
that takes out the auto part of it.
So again, it depends. So if you have hundreds of shipments a day you need to quote,
Yeah.
coming in and manually adjusting the algorithm, moving it up the dials for certain areas, produce, things like that, they know they see coming, manually adjusting those dials. And often those are done by pricing teams holistically, not just for one shipper, but
Right.
done holistically across all accounts.
And
Um,
then when the market softens and there's no demand for it, there's no revenue for it either.
that
So
is a good question to have for the shipper. Do they plan to continue to put freight into that tool, even if what happens if the market softens, and are they still planning to put freight in that tool?
I mean, most shippers want to contract everything that's more than 25 to 50 shipments a year in a lane.
We
So when you take the market comes back off, then your revenue towards your capital expenditure is gone, and there's no reward side because the market's down. So I'm want to look at it from every side. I think it's wonderful if the shipper says we're not looking at lowest cost. We're not going to we're going to disperse so much freight amongst everyone. It's not going to be lowest cost. We understand the investments that you're making to help us streamline our efficiencies and our processes here and avoid the spot market. We're going to share in that with you. I think that's a genuine delivery. I can get behind that. I can get my wallet out and invest in that. I don't want to get my wallet out to step up to the plate and find out I'm trying to hit 150 mile an hour fastball. Right? I mean, dangle the carrot so much, you say, hey, wait a minute. What's at the end of the rainbow? Is there a pot of gold so I can recover my investment or be profitable? Or is this another attempt to use technology to avoid anything else? Higher rates.
You nailed it. So maybe my third piece of tactical advice to build on that is, not only is it about the unique relationship you have with that shipper,
Mm-hmm.
and that, but you should also look at that TMS. So typically that capital investment you're going to make applies to any shipper on that TMS. So you pay that fee once, and then potentially maybe you have a handful of other shippers on that TMS using the same functionality that you didn't know about. Now, that is, each one of these is not a home run, right?
Right.
But that does allow you to spread your bet out across multiple shippers, knowing that the shipper's probably not going to commit to awarding you X amount of freight over a year, but at least you get multiple at bats.
Yeah. Can you share what you've seen with all of your integration experience? What do you see as the success percentage?
Yeah, so in those closed rooms, you will often have shippers say our plan and our expectation is to give you 10% of the freight, 30% of the freight, right? They will share information like that.
Okay.
And the other component to it is they often want you to potentially meet a certain amount, right? So they don't want you just coming in high in that closed room. They also want to say, hey, you're competing with five other providers. You should be winning 20% of this freight. And we want to award you 20% of this freight. So there is a conversation around wallet share in those closed rooms. And what we see a lot of success with is often these are seasonal businesses. And so they might slow down a certain time of year, and then they really might be profitable another time of year, or if there's project work. And so those types of questions, asking them up front. We have customers who are doing well over seven figures for one customer, Potentially even we've gotten close to 7-figure months for certain folks in these environments. But again, those are not the rule. Those are for API rating. Those are the exception, and those are really based on the relationship that you build with the shipper by being a high service provider.
I agree. And I think those are probably very large shippers
Yes.
with very, very simple, consistent freight. It's not going to apply with the multi-stop load that you don't have appointments on in your presentation to your carrier is here's the load, 3 stops, 2 stops, but we don't know if it's going to be on the truck for 2 days or 4 days. Right? And we want an API rate on that.
Yeah. And those are things that those providers, whether you build it bespoke and hire someone like Sightline to do it, or do it yourself, or you hire someone or licensed software like Tabby or AVRL to do it, those are things that you should design in your solution. Sometimes the answer is, hey, if they don't have appointments on it, don't quote it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you don't have confirmed appointments or things change, then that's where it goes sideways. So then all the investment on the front side is out the window because this is a drop back and reassess and reappoint and reschedule, or you're going to fail to meet some customer on that truck's expectations. So after you go through all that, then you say, hey, wait a minute, we can't do this, or this isn't going to work unless you go outside that. And then you say, well, we gave a rate for it based on what it appeared, but upon calling the receivers, those appointment days are not available. So, yeah, definitely. Great stuff. I'm passionate. Thomas, don't misconstrue my passion for I'm trying to pick and understand every possible scenario, every picture that we could see. Joe, any thoughts for all of us and our viewers?
No, not really, John. At this point, I think it was a good discussion. I think big shippers should definitely look at this and with an open mind, and with being very upfront with their partners on what they're looking for.
Yeah, I think if the motives are genuine and it's not based on lowest cost, I could understand the investment in trying to drive efficiency and value in the supply chain. But I'm somewhat concerned that it's not consistent, because when those lanes are all being awarded contract on yearly bids, then you're waiting for fallout or the market to increase to create this market for this closed room that's not the spot market, but it's its own little captive spot market within. Is that accurate, Thomas?
Yeah. What happened? So these solutions have only been available for the past couple of years.
Right.
So in the past couple of years, we've kind of been in a loose market. So when the market tightens up, and those are things that these solutions haven't really gone the full freight cycle with yet. Right. So they are new. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. There's, of course, capital expense that has to be put up to make the solution happen. And again, it's back to that relationship and making sure you have the right algorithm and ask the right questions up front. So we'll see how these solutions mature over the next few years.
Yeah.
Thomas, thank you for being on Stay in Your Lane. Joe Lombardo, always a wonderful contributor to our podcast. I appreciate you more than you know. Thomas, can I request that you come back and join us on some other discussions?
I'd love to. I do need to get one of the patches. It looks like Joe has a patch. I think that's his thing.
Oh, that's his shirt. I had that custom made for the guy.
Okay.
Right, Joe? We're twins. I have them too.
Right. When the market changes, then we have to bring Thomas back when it changes, when it gets pretty tight out there.
So we can see how this is really working out.
Time how the algorithms are doing.
Well, I think you bring up a great point, Joe, because and Thomas, you brought it up also. Until it's been through adversity, you don't know how things really work. I'm all for automation. I'm all for streamlining any processes and taking manual processes out of the mix. But I'm more so wanting to understand motives. If we understand the motives and we know the motives are genuine, we're 100% on board with making investments. With good people, good business, there's a cost to doing good business. When we're concerned that the motives aren't genuine, that's a little tough, because in today's market, there's going to be no volume right now. If you did this a year ago, you wouldn't realize any return at this point in time. Nothing sizable.
I think
So
it depends on the shipper.
it depends on the shipper. It depends. That's what attorneys say. Well, it depends, right?
I'm not
You
an
heard-
attorney.
That's what they say. Well, it depends. Who am I representing? The carrier or the shipper? It depends. Which side am I on? So, you guys have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks again for participating. Joe, much love. Thomas, very much enjoyed the value you bring, and I hope you enjoyed being on.
I did. I hope to do it again. Thank you so much for having me, and great to meet you, Joe.
Nice meeting you. Take care, guys.
Thomas, we'll post your credentials on the closing page here for everyone.
Sounds great.
So if people need anything, they can reach out to you. All right.
Sounds good to me. Thank you again. I really had
Thank
fun.
you, and until next time, stay in
care.
your lane.